probably about tired of we almost broke up before the last album angle. Ray Wiley Hubbard has a story, this thing about, I said to the rabbit, "Are you going to make it?" And the rabbit said, "Oh, I got to." Was it that you felt a desperation, or was it more of a screw it, don't care attitude that maybe helped break it?
It was one of those things where, desperation breeds creativity, or you fail. If you're stuck in a corner, you either come up with a way to get out of that corner, or you end up not getting out of that corner. And for us, it was, we all really believed in what we were doing. We all believed that we were good enough musicians. We had songs, we had ethic, we had the work ethic. And it was just one of those things where we were just tired for 7 years of just spinning circles, putting out stuff and thinking it was good, and then nothing happening. Crowds not getting bigger, us playing in front of about 10 or 15 people every single night. We did it for 7 years. And it was just finally, it comes to a point in time, no matter what occupation you're in, where if you do something long enough and be told that you're not good enough at it, you start believing, like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then luckily we went in the studio, and with that in mind, knowing that it was going to be our last record, and we made Burn, Flicker, Die, and changed everything. I always think it's really ironic that the record about us failing is the record that ended up being our success record. But that just opened up the door to Wolves, because when we went in to record Wolves, there was no pressure. We knew we were going to be musicians. We were literally like professional musicians. We made a living playing music. So there was none of that pressure. It's just we finally got to make a record that we wanted to make. And we really had no idea how people were going to take it, because Wolves isn't exactly a country record. It's not even really an Americana record. It's a weird, like, indie rock record. And so we made it because we liked it. We made it because it was what we wanted to do. And we're really fortunate that our fan base, and even fans that weren't ours before that are now our fans, followed where we're going creatively and followed us in kind of what we think is cool. And we're kind of forever in debt to them for not only giving us a career, but giving us a pretty good career.
I made that passing reference to Ray Wiley Hubbard. Somebody else that might have an iconic presence in Texas, Larry Joe Taylor. Here in Oklahoma, I'm sure you've heard these names. If you haven't, Tom Skinner, Randy Crouch, Bob Childers.
Yeah.
Who were the kind of figures like that, mentors and somebody to look up to where you were at in Raleigh?
Well, the guy that came out of the Raleigh scene that was really, really big and made like a big national dent was Ryan Adams. He had a band called Whiskey Town. And they brought a lot of light onto the Triangle. Ryan to this day is still considered one of the better songwriters of our generation. And you can't help when I moved there, I moved there a couple years after he left Raleigh, and you can't help but get comparisons. Everybody's like, oh, you're the young kid in town writing country songs. I'm like, yeah, I'm not Ryan Adams though. And so I'd say Whiskey Town was like my first introduction to kind of that, everybody in Oklahoma has like the Oklahoma sound, the red dirt sound, and in Texas, the Texas country sound. Out in North Carolina, we just called it alt country, alternative country. It was basically just punk rock kids who played country music. It's I guess every place in the country has a different name for it, and in Texas and Oklahoma, it's very, very, very much a thing. But in North Carolina, it was just like a kind of a subculture. Here it is the culture. It's not, are you going to go to a show on Friday or Saturday? It's what show are you going to on a Friday or Saturday, which is totally different from anywhere else in the country. Texas and Oklahoma are the only people that do that. The rest of the country it's like pulling teeth getting people to come see live music. Here it's part of the culture, and it's amazing. It's why we spend so much time in Texas and Oklahoma, because people get what we're doing here, and they love what we're doing here, and they make it worth the trip out here. It's fun. But I'd say Whiskey Town. There's a band called the Backsliders. They were fronted by a guy named Chip Robinson. Six String Drag, Kenny Roby, the $2 Pistols, Tiff Merritt. A lot of those are the bands that kind of instilled in me what country music can be, and they're all from Raleigh. So they proved to me that country music didn't have to be what my parents taught me country music was, which was whatever was on the radio. So late 80s, early 90s country music was starting to take the horrid turn toward what it is now, when they started putting pyrotechnics and, it became more of a Broadway musical than it did a country music show. So, but
now it's bro country.
Yeah, it's bro country now, and it's. I always joke that I don't have the jawline to be a country music singer these days. I don't look good enough in a V-neck T-shirt to be a country music singer. But yeah, out here, this part of the country, as long as you play honest songs and are a genuine human being, then it doesn't matter that I'm from North Carolina. People accept me in Oklahoma, people accept me in Texas, and they don't really ask where I'm from anymore. They're just like, oh, that's American Aquarium. They're part of the scene, and it's a good feeling because you look at everybody else who's a part of this scene, and this is Oklahoma and Texas. This part of the country is really what's, I think, going to take back country music. This is country music that has a fan base. Thousands of people come out on Friday and Saturday night. Tonight there'll be 6,000 people out here listening to bands that aren't on a major label, bands that independently put their music out, bands that write their own songs. There's something to be said for that. And I'm just looking back on it 20 years from now. Hopefully hopefully everybody looks at me as being on the right side of the country music line instead of the horrific other option.
We're a Red Dirt Nation, and we kind of tend to look at the community around here more than just as a genre.
100%.
You talked about it being an indie rock record as compared to country music for you with Wolves. Maybe based on what you just said about having to pull teeth to get people to come out in the Southeast, sometimes maybe it's not something for people around here to have a big ambition to spread to that area of the country, but there's some people at Isbell and drive-by truckers that have made it nationally, kind of coming out of that region.
For sure, and you've got bands from here that are doing the same thing. Turnpike Troubadours, for example. They can go just about anywhere in the country and play in front of 500 or 600 people a night. And it doesn't take a lot of math to do a $20 ticket at 500 or 600 people a night. You can make a living doing that. If you do that 200 days a year, you can buy a house and feed a kid and keep a wife happy. It's one of those things where this style of music is spreading nationwide, for sure. Just because it's an honest alternative to what's being played on the radio. Like I said, we're super pumped to be a part of it. We may be the outsiders. I think everybody, all the bands, I think we're a bands band. A lot of the bands here in this scene really dig what we do. And I think our fan base here comes from those bands telling everybody about us, like Turnpike and all them posting on their social media about you guys. Like early on in the days, they took us out on the road bowling. Randy, Wade, they all took us out and kind of just were always tweeting like, you got to hear this band, American Aquarium. And I think some people get it, some people don't. There's some people, true blue Texans in Oklahoma, they come out to the shows and they're just like, what the heck? We might as well be Radiohead to them. They're like, what is this? Like, this ain't country music. It's got we bring them back in with the pedal steel, but we're a rock and roll band, and it just so happens that I'm the singer, and whatever I sing on is going to sound twangy, and it's going to sound like country music, kind of. The lyrics are going to sound like country music, but we're pretty sure hot rock and roll band.
Just in that answer, you touched on two different subjects that are questions I have here. Trying to decide which one to segue to. I was going to ask you just about the role of instruments like pedal steel in the future of music of various genres. It seems like those are...
Well, see, the cool thing about pedal steel is, there's the very traditional way of playing pedal steel, which is what you associate with country music. It's what every country music band, if you don't have a pedal steel, at least on your records, you can't call yourself a country band. Come on now. Like, you got to have that pedal steel because it's immediately you associate it with country music. But what I really love about our steel player, his name's Whit Wright, he really pushes what a pedal steel can do. He takes it to more of the atmospheric stuff. Like, instead of playing a lot of notes at once, which is historically what the pedal steel, everybody knows, like the really fast pedal steel solos that sound really cool and twangy, he does the really big swells. So almost like he treats it like an organ. He treats it like a keys, and he just has these really great swells that he takes it from being a lead instrument to being like this, just almost like setting the mood. It's like just it's haunting sometimes what he can do with an instrument. It's truly a great thing. He's one of my favorites. As far as he's always trying to buy new pedals and new stuff to see what weird sounds he can get out of a very traditional instrument, which I think is a super cool thing. So I think it's going to play a huge part. Like guys like him, there's other guys that play the steel in a very experimental way that are going to prove that pedal steel can be in more than just country band. You know, you can be an indie rock band and have a weird pedal steel that can do a lot of really cool stuff. So I think it's having a huge resurgence in the last couple years. Like I've seen a lot more. It used to be when Whit started playing, he was the only person under 25 that played a pedal steel. Everybody else was 60, and asking him why he decided to, why'd you decide to devote your life to this instrument? And so now there's a lot more, under 30s playing pedal steel because it's kind of a cool instrument to play. It's a big old math problem for me. I don't ever want to sit behind one of those things, but he's really good at it, and it's a super cool thing.
We're proud to have a pretty close relationship with the Stragglers that you mentioned, Boland, and being on tour with him. I can remember it was probably 3 years ago now that you guys had like.
It had to have been at least 3 years. It was 3 or 4 years ago. He was our first introduction into this scene. We met Roger Ray at a bar in Fort Worth, Texas, and Roger Ray came up to us and was like, "Yeah, we're, looking back on it, people don't understand this, but like." He came up to us at the bar and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I play red dirt music." I'm like, "What the hell is red dirt music?" "We're from North Carolina." He's like, "Oh, I'm in a band called Jason Boland and Stragglers." I was like, "Who?" He was like, "Oh, it's like here in Texas. There's like a really big like independent scene. It's like, like Randy Rogers and Josh Abbott." I was like, "Who?" He's like, like Pat Green and like Jack Ingram." And I was like, "I don't know who any of these people are." And looking back, like these people are friends now, and it's like, and they're just monolithic superstars, and it's like, then I just didn't know that this. It was like finding like it was like Alice in Wonderland. I opened up this little door, and I was like, "What the hell is this? This is a magical little place." And Boland took us on the road and kind of showed us the ropes of like what it meant to be a red dirt band, and like taught us that as long as you stay true to your roots and write honest songs, people are going to listen to it. You have a market for it. You have people that don't want manufactured bullshit. They want real music. And Boland has made a damn near 20-year career out of it. Screw all y'all. Hey, I'm doing what I want to do. And then through Boland we met Turnpike, which was they were still in a van when we met Turnpike. And I remember our first tour, they were in a van. And they were the most like-minded folks we've met since we've been out here that do what we do. Like me and Evan, they put out Diamonds and Gasoline, and we put out Burn, Flicker, Die right around the same time. We had no idea who each other were, and we were writing like literally some of the same lines in songs, like almost word for word, and we had no idea who each other were. And so like I really found like kind of a kindred spirit in Evan, because me and him liked the same kind of music. We wrote the same way. We had pretty much the same band, as far as instruments go. And then Turnpike really, that fuse got lit on that rocket, and they're arguably the biggest band in this scene right now. And we're just fortunate enough they still call us friends and call us up and come out and do fun stuff like this.
You may see Roger Ray here tonight. I just saw him Wednesday in Tulsa. He lives in Tulsa now.
Heck yeah.
If you don't see him tonight, I imagine you will see him tomorrow.
Yeah, we played Canes a couple months ago, and he came out to our show. He's the guy that introduced us to this. He's the guy that literally, being in a band, you hear it a million times. "Oh, I'm gonna get my booking agent to call your guys, and we're gonna put something together." He did it. He saw us at a bar. He was one of 5 people at a bar, Fort Worth, Texas. And he was like, "I'm gonna take you on the road with my band." 2 months later, we're out on the road with his band, and it kind of changed our life because it introduced us to this red dirt, this Texas scene, and it's huge. It's huge for us because we found a place where we finally fit in. We spent years circling around the country, just playing in front of 15 or 20 people every night. Some people got it. Some people were just friends from college that came out or something. But we found a home here in Texas, Oklahoma, and it's huge. I know some people are funny about me lumping them together, but it's the same mindset. We call it different music, and they have their different luminaries, but it comes from the same place. It comes from honest songwriting, and just to have a home here is a really good thing.
No, in one of the road trips you were on with them, Randy Crouch was with them.
Playing fiddle for him, yeah. He's you want to talk about, he was one of those guys that didn't know who he was, and then you Google his name and you're like, oh, shit, okay, that guy's a legend.
He's got his own Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
Legit, right?
for sure. And you know, anybody that can sit down and tell you stories about towns, that's stupid. And we were out with them for like 3 weeks, and after the second day, he just started getting up on stage and playing fiddle with us every night. And it was like the coolest thing in the world, because he's one of those guys that just exudes. I wish every human being could like feel the way Randy Crouch feels once in their life. Randy just like exudes this like happiness. Like you can't be around that dude and not smile. He's just a good person, and anybody that builds geodesic domes out in the middle of nowhere and calls it Randy Land, A-okay with me.
Randy Land's just up the hill.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So anybody that builds their own land, it's fine with me.
You'll be in Tulsa tomorrow, and we'll see you there at Guthrie Green as well. And just more of a comment than a question, but I don't know where you're headed afterwards. But there is a festival going on in Tulsa tomorrow. Support medical marijuana. It's 30 bands, free thing.
Oh,
just down the road, about 15 blocks from
Guthrie
Green. So
that'd be awesome.
if you're not in a hurry after you're done,
A couple of the
roll
boys
down to that.
A couple of the boys will be happy to come out to that.
Wanted to know about your future plans now that Wolves is out and been doing well.
You only get to sit back and rest a little bit when you put a record out. You get to sit back for about 6 months and bask in the limelight a little bit, and pat yourself on the back and tell yourself, oh, that's a good record, but then you have to start doing the next one. So we're currently in the process of writing the next record. We go into the studio next summer, and so about a year and a half from now you'll see another record, and we'll probably be sitting down talking about that.
All right. Where you'll be doing that and with who? Anything
Not
like
sure
that?
yet. We're still in the baby phases. We're still in the planning, but we're just happy that we're not at a point asking if there's going to be another record. We're just happy to be talking about that there's definitely going to be another record. So that's a real good thing.
Yeah, you're right. Jump back real quick to something about the southeastern scene in Athens, Georgia. Maybe their limelight is sort of dimmed a little bit, but everybody knows Isabel at this point, and anybody who's paying attention knows Drive-By Truckers. You ever have any interaction or knowledge of a band called Vigilantes of Love?
Yes, I do. Of course I do.
I'm a big fan of that.
Heck yeah.
Bill Maloney, I think.
Yeah, Bill Maloney. I don't know how you say it.
I was saying it Maloney for a long time, and somebody told me it's Maloney.
It might be Maloney. He opened up for us in St. Louis a couple years ago randomly. He got added to a show and just blew me away. Really great writer.
He's awesome.
It was him and his wife just kind of traveling around, and real talented dude. That Athens scene is really, really famous for like kind of the indie rock stuff. REM, the B-52s. They all came out of that Athens scene. But the Truckers kind of put their stamp on Southern rock and really became one of the Southern rock bands. And they hate that title, Southern rock, but I'm sorry. And then Isbell is just, he's on a different level. He's an alien. People shouldn't be able to do what he does. Songwriters, there's 3 parts of being a songwriter. There's singing, there's writing songs, there's playing the guitar. And if you're lucky, you have 2 of them. Most of us just have 1. And if you're lucky, you have 2, and that bastard has all 3 of them. And we were lucky enough to, be friends with Jason before, he got his rocket ship fuse lit, and he produced one of our records, and we were real pumped to work with him. And him and Sturgill are definitely on the forefront of kind of what popular country music, the alternative that people have. If you grew up listening to Waylon and Merle and Willie, you don't have to listen to the bullshit they play on the radio now. So they're giving you pretty good options to go see, and it's catching on. There'll always be a place for nonsense. I guess everybody calls it bro country now. Just like there's always going to be a place for shitty pop music. It's like I said, pretty boys with tight t-shirts singing songs about girls in trucks.
That somebody else wrote for them.
Yeah, it took 7 people to sit down in a room and write that. But who would have thought?